Dele, Khenchen La, Kempola, Lama, Gongchig. Welcome everybody. We're going to start the program today, the teaching today with the 9 mandala offering.
Hoàn toàn giải thoát khỏi những ràng buộc của chân và huyền, siêu vượt danh tự của các tướng, các của sinh diệt và trụ, siêu vượt đến và đi, lấy và bỏ. Mạn Đà La tối thượng chính là cảnh giới tâm nguyên sơ. Chúng con xin dâng lên cúng tất cả và qua đó nguyện chúng con được gia hộ để đạt đến cảnh giới Phật. Completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and attributes of arising, cessation and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The Supreme Mandala is the natural state. By offering it, may we be blessed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Om Guru Deva Dakini Vatna Mandala Pratisha Soha.
Sanjin Judam Sojin Chonam Lai Chanchun Paldu Dane Jebsun Jin Dage Jinsu Jibe Chonam Jola Penjire Sanjin Drubar Shoy Sanjin Judam Sojin Chonam Lai Chanchun Paldu Dane Jebsun Dage Jinsu Jimbe Chonam Jin Rola Penjire Sanjin Drubar Shoy.
Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings.
Mahanamga Danyambe Samjan Tamjen Deva Tan Devin Judan Dembran Jurun Donga Dan Donga Judan Trevoran Jurus Donghe Meben Deva Naman Treva Jurun Niren Chadan Nidan Treve Danyamla Nebran Jurun Mahanamga Danyambe Simchen Damjen Deva Dan Devin Judan Bran Jurun Donghe Dan Donghe Judan Trevoran Jurus Donghe Mebe Deva Dan Mendravaran Jurun Niren Chadan Nidan Trave Danyamla Nebran Jurun.
May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Chaze Wadan Jujan Shabadan Jesu Yerang Gujin Surva Ye Gewa Jungze Dage Jesamba Damje Zumbe Chanju Jemburo.
Whatever slight virtues I have accumulated through prostration and offering, confession and rejoicing, beseeching and requesting, I dedicate it all for the sake of complete enlightenment.
Sajim Buju Jujim Medodan River Lingxie Nede Jimbande Samji Shenla Megdim Pruai Drugun Namda Shendo Jumbar Shoy Guso Yonzo Lame Sonam Lai Chena Samsum Tejin Yejin Dalu Longjo Nasi Yongxian Ba Lame Chogin Hudu Zardu So Woman Guru Dewan Draken Shena Mendala Bariza So.
The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountains, the 4 continents, and the sun and the moon. As a Buddha feel, I offer it. May all sentient beings sit in the happiness of Buddha feel. To the lamas who possess the 3 kayas, I offer the outer, inner, and secret offerings. Om Guru Deva Dakine Radna Mandala Pratisha Soha.
Simjen Namje Samba Dan Loyen Chedan Chedrawa Chechon Tumon Tebai
Based on the rule of Dharma of the greater and lesser vehicles, and the teachings come onto both according to the dispositions and mental capacity of the sentient beings.
Khenchen Gyaltsen de Tsavela Mesha da Lama Yedam Chuzong La Surwan de Soda Jushinje Lo Jenzinga Tumba Zosanje Gandrumang Barden Amrashira Tujiran Jentarvelam Dam Yongzen Shinye Namla Gujan Zar Hadan Lame Mamje Wambodan Jerjin Lo Chuje Shola Shawa Sheva Nam Sanje Sonra Rabde Shijen Deve Jujur Tetan Cheje Dambe Chunye Baryandir Shi 남가다 냠베신제 담제제 튼도 도절라나 매버 양답으로도 산지지 공방당 바 진내전 도브르자 대체도 다 담배추 사모란 주버지고 냠베 삼바 찬춤초도 레버를 설던데 셈브르쇼 데텔라 강 셈브르제 추데라 근데 제단 그거는 제가 있나 산제게 까당 데네 번공 파벌 루드블라 소바 데네 자라게다 벤트다 등수고 송제베게 땡주당 데네 덴데게 까당 땡주기 된 힘부 탐지 찍도 되바 맹하게 용 다든데 숨 잠지 예바래 가서 투섬지야라 투섬금 숨지야라 대인들잖아요 다 단다 까당 땡주기 된 탐지 조직들 제외되는 맹하게 땡주 어떤데 다 담배주 공부지고 용세야 대시월지가 어떤데 지인바래
In order to benefit all other sentient beings with the motivation of benefiting the other sentient beings, try to attain the state of Buddhahood. And in order to have that, try to practice the teachings. And we are here right now on the stages of listening the teachings. And the teaching that is the teachings, the Buddha's word, and also the commentary from the scholars, such as like Nagarjuna and so forth. And also the teaching today we are going to have is the one which is concise of all the teachings of the Buddha's teaching, and also the complementary commentaries of all the great master, that is the Gongchig. So we are going to talk about the Gongchig.
tene 단단데다 가당 땡주 맹아세나엔다 tene 양 초진의 조선의 당연들 장에 tene 산제기 주선나엔다 말한서 넘버 산제박의 주선나엔다 공직이 선나엔다 간달 늘라 산제기 템바세요와 다 산제기 템바텔파 예와체 연구산에 tene 롱게 템바 직당 또베 템바스네 산제기 템바데 tene number 2순도 연구요래 롱게 템바 또베 템바스 다 롱게 템바 세도산에 가르송구요래 생두 다단데 남주 간주르당 땡주르게 되네 빼차 송럽이 되나신 페나 공직이 빼찬 된다고이나 롱게 템바 세요래 tene 또베 템바 세인두산에 간주르당 땡주르 되나신 공직 단 된데기 용 densogi nana 송자베기 된들라 카르세게스나 tene 또베기 템바스 어디 인도산에 롱게 템바탄 또베 템바스에 니기나나 산제기 템바 탐체인 돈도요르와 나 텐데 인도산에 아주 tene 템반 짐바세요르와 다 템반 진세 인도산에 가르치네 템반 쟁고요레스나 템발라 페야티도 남순 쟁고 말에 남솔라 페야치도 템반 쟁고요레 대인들산에 그냥 카시에스도 템반젠스도 산에 남쪽의 템반젠데나 템바 코랑라 집에 시위직 편도 유베존도 지소문 땅쓰기로와 테마레 템바 대긴 남솔로 팽겨요 남존 진나 테나신데 테네 타단데다 tembanzin sta tembanzin tang tela tene kariyore sen zane longi tembala tusam ge tonen zengo re longi temba tenzo beja tenzo ji 다가서 야 찍네 최바 풀세기 유지부 말에 이난 최바 풀는 초다 사이로와 제데 있는 양 롱기 템바튼 주 카식네 베자주 식네 되네 텐조 돌아 투삼 제고야래 텐데 제바 있는 롱기 템바튼 zem바서게 되네 또베 템바 세대자네 롱기 템베기 낭나 숭샤베게 된다대 되는 건저 하고와 지부 백 말에 공직이 되는 총 당분하라 된대지 송여 총 예배는 된대지 송여 총 순배는 된대지 송여 삼바점지 되는 펜토요 말와 대인도 전에 빼는 건전데 메인게 꼴라 다지 메인 디사나 펜돈 된대지 요래와 메인 디사나 양딜 펜기로 와서야로 메인게 펜데 셴바 지부게 가서 나서 타도 말와 된대 인도 전에 다 가당 땡주 맹아 된전난도 송자베게 된데 되는 거랑 저기 곰베 돈을 준 쟁고요래 곰치고요래 된도 곰바이나 들라테네 또베 템반 짐바스나 송바로와 어디인도 전에 롱도게 템반이 부른 전술 된대지 인게 요사래
So here when we talk about the teachings of the Buddha, and there comes into two categories. One is the teachings of transmission of the Buddha's teaching, and one is the realization of the teachings. So here, the transmission is the word, the teachings of the Buddha, which is there in the Buddha's word, and also in the form of commentaries. And whereas the realization is the kind of the inner essence of the practice of the teaching. So usually we have like Buddha's teaching, and also there's a commentary for the teachings. And one who really practice the commentaries or the essence of the teachings, that is known as the realizations. For example, usually when we talk about the teachings of like uphold the teachings of the Buddha, doesn't mean that we are benefiting the Buddha's teaching, but rather it benefits us. It's benefit us, the followers. It benefits the followers, not the teaching. When you hold the teachings, then it only benefits ourselves for teachings. For example, like when you try to listen to the teaching, and also when you contemplate on it. So this is known as the kind of this transmission, the teachings, or the transmission of the teachings. Whereas when you come to the practice and the realization of the teachings, then this is known as like kind of the realization of the teachings. So usually when we talk about the teachings, like the realization here doesn't mean that just understanding the teaching, but rather to like put into the practice, and also to realize in its own ultimate reality. For example, when you talk about the Gongchig, it is not just enough to understand what kind of vital points. There are many vital points. Then in each vital points, by knowing that for each vital points there are this kind of contains and this kind of understanding and this kind of teaching. It's just understanding, and it's not enough. We have to practice and rather try to understand, practice that. Like for example, if there is a medicine, so like we have to eat that medicine and really need to benefit oneself. Otherwise, even if you know this is medicine, then it doesn't work. We have to eat it. So therefore, we have to practice it. We have to meditate it, and we have to contemplate on it. And ultimately, we have to realize and actualize the teachings. So this is known as the realization. So there are two categories, that is the transmission and the realization.
다티 인도 전에 텐데기 롱당 또베기 템바 단 짐벌 제발라 투 삼곰숨 송거와 다 텐데기 투 삼곰숨 간텐다지 지야이나양 근데 때라 다 잡변하지 주베기 신라분자고 세그러와 라마 주베기 림발라 때네 총회 근데 롱기 주바 대형기 주바 다 텐데지 네버드 고요와 때인도서는 단단한 간절 따따금 주베 총대 송용도산에 토마라 되는 도지송 담보되게 가르송 받았으나 담배 주가 주번제와 싸워 세야대 송용도요래 따티인도산에 담배 주 강송도와 담배추 강세안되게 단지시와 난신 담배추 롱다 담배추 또바서야 띠니보들에 띠인도 텐제게 담추 롱도게 담추 가리나양 롱게 담추 있나양 지 ཉེ네 ཉེ도 주바지 고요래 라마찌기 ཉེ네 찌라마 주네 텐제게 주바 파마체바지 고요래 롱게 템반 쟁고요나 데나신도 또베게 템반 쟁고요나 투네 투수지바지 고요에 디인도산에 다 텐데기 롱다 또베 템바 되니 ཉෙ네 ཉෙ도 주바당 투네 투수지베기 주바다 템베 취직라 되니 간주 투삼 공숨지 제바이나 델라테네 되니 주베기 지나오서야 듣고 수주요용고요래 대마인바 개시바나 주반도지 매송아이나 가세지 투삼 공숨 제제바이나야 되게 되네 란주 양타바지 둘두고 말해 송거리 근데 인자 추 칸트지 냠술랭기냐야 라마 주바 양타바지 고야데 백해 침부레스 근데 인도산에 담배 주는 주반 잡아서 세야 대송바래
When you talk about the practice of these Dharma, the Parama Dharma or the perfect Dharma teachings, so it comes into the three categories. That is first listening, contemplating, and meditation. So, and these teachings are categorized into these three things. And all these teachings comes like in the continuation from the perfect master, from master to master. And they are teachings like the transmission and also the realization, the teachings. Then here, when you talk about these teachings, it's when you talk about the transmission, that it comes from one master to another through the listening, through the ear to ear. We have been saying that through the continuation from ear to ear, or if we talk about realization, then it talks about the continuation from heart to heart, from a perfect master to another perfect master, through the heart to heart. Continuations. So, like if there's no continuation like this, then it is regarded as it's not a perfect teachings coming from. So, therefore, it is stated that we need to have a very perfect continuation of the masters or the gurus, which can continue the teachings through the transmission as well as through the realization.
주바양타와 그의 점생지 가르쳐요 거래 인도산에 단다 산지 다자가 된바 다네 로두 까와지 나와 다 로두를 지다다 까와 참에 숨게 초사 드바장 나와래 제버도 되네 끝에 대토는 선은 담아이나 로두를 되네 딱 까지 잡고 나와 된나네 되네 디제수 되네 산지라야 플로마텐데게 되네 지다 구zu야 다 시사마주나 구zu야 소야게 되네 셰라 부숨초가 되네 표로 대표인도 전에 되네 양지 산지기 구zu대에서 마대외 출된지 때난도와 대인도 전에 되네 대가수 다 뒤게 리턴조게 되네 산지라 가르치버스나 다 저랑 배신 단다 조보연 조원도 나사야 잡고지긴 나든도 대인도 다 저랑 봐 되네지 시사마주나 시잖아 야그레스 근데야 산지를 쉬도와 대쉬도 전에 산지기 가르송요르잖아 단단한 티투스 바위오 말레스 가인스나 네 되네 다지 까르와 참이 숨나 소바라 초사 드바장 람라 때네 다른 제운도 주르와 텐데기 람단 제우 텐소 차상지 옌라파 제시 잠네 뜬 tumkengi 로만 푸숨 소바지 마중게 파도 만냥인다고 말해스 어떤 송도와 디 인도산에다 디 가르땡게르스나 추일의 주바구 유바 티 땡게르 계시pana 추일의 주바사야지 구 메와이나 근데 산제기 게 로마텐 중가랑게지 추시에네 주민네 선진진 멤버 제통겐지 마차게 파도 만냥인다고 men스는 송고야 개요마와 디 인도 콜소마라랑 소소랑구랑던도 제소는 리로와 이나 텐데 마임버 산지 공게드네 두줄로 유베 어다 빵와당 또베게드네 윤데 텐소드네 지금 누제시나 봐 뜸을 겐지 로마지 마설게 봐도 냥에는 다그메 소야다 텐도기 추 가레이네 주바 넘버 타바지 주바 마체바지 고유바다 텐소토네야 드네 세고 차용하데 지레.
So here, the reason why we need to have like kind of perfect continuation of the teaching is that what happened is when Buddha was about to enlighten, and like when he was there in the retreat for 6 years, and his body became too weak, and also at the same time he was nearly about to die. So that time his body is too weak, as well as because of not having the good food. And that time, whereas some of the disciples offer him the food in order to, regain his strength and so forth. That time, some of the demonic forces came about and asked the Buddha, "It's better you can die because your body is so weak and now you couldn't do much. So better you can die." That time, what the Buddha said was, "Right now, I have done nothing for the sentient beings. I still have to give teachings and the continuation of the teachings to all my sentient beings to ripen up the followers. And unless and until I have not able to ripen them, I'm not able to ripen them, then I'm not going to die. So I will only die after I have done my job." So from this also we can come to know that the continuation of teachings in all this is important and it's required. That's all.
Tena shin tanandi ranso pena gajugi tene jube lama tensugi namtarma jeyundu zane tachidangi dorjin chanchin telo naro marpa mela gambuba pamo chuban jikten songon sena songyorwa ta tinane ngaranso megi tenchen imbate jetsun telo barwa ta jetsun telo bani ma juyundu zane jetsun telo banra uchina ngune chena karwa thame mambu ngarunne ngumra zoba sangje simba dorjin changchembu ngola shudeba tendeji redo yorete yinaya tane tumungin durjadang o tinashindo tambe chude jubaza chembujiren jubade ge chembu yimbegi jumsena tene tani mai lama tembegi lorju tende yungdowa tendu tendere tendegi mai lama tembe chenayang lama tenzogi tene tujulo yobe ta pangdogi yonden yongsu zobachi lama tenzogi yang lome tujula je matugu pardu lame kalen nangdowa tinashindo loma tenzogi yang rani loma yimbe kapsu lama latani nipa sumji gone pe lamegi tuk jiparchene di nane yang labardo tani rab dubegin chebatende pune di gone lame tuk niparchene lame tuk jugi topati rangi jula je tubze ala tani bezo nang yungdawa ta tenzo nganzo ka jugi lame namtar tenzo rana yorwa pena tani jezun telopagi loma ta chedang mambu yorite zo benchen naro barwa tani benchen naro pe yang kawa paadameba jene jezun telopati telopagi yang 대신도 되네 제수 종네 어다 랑기 투주게 되네 방도게 연데 용수 조바데 벤첸 나로베게 투주랑 표토바지 낭도와 표토바지 낭처베게 제라드네 다소 건 낭메다네 야마자네 저삽랑 나왕고도와 어다 디레네 종데 다 주랑에 저삽인스 마옹바게 소마텐 속에다 주데 주랑게 멤버 제고레스 아니 하바르도양 아드네 marva loza seyaji pyoge tene lama chikta churang la tugures 디 지수 종고 그랬네 롱덴낭 나솔낭 증도낭도 딘도 디 줌생 가르쳐요 그래서나 추데 주바 개침부지 임비 줌생라 때네 드니 고지 주바 때사대야 오늘 소만 느덴지라 저서도 원고 용도와 텐데 인도자네 tensogu 줌센도 어디 가서나 담배기 추데 주바 개침부 임비 줌생라 투용고요래
So here, for example, the reason why it stated is, even if you look in the Kajupas, the tradition of the Kajupa masters and their life story, if you look at their life story, like how the teachings and how the teachings comes from one master to another. For example, the Tilopa. Tilopa is actually, he was enlightened from the beginningless time, and also in order to lead the disciples, he has to undergo for the teachings, and in order to show that the special lineage or the special link or the continuity of the teaching, he has to come in the form of human beings, and also he has to follow the teacher, and also while after becoming enlightened, he also offer his teachings, and also while being like, for example, one should have to please one's own master, and at the same time, one try to get the teaching and the knowledge or the wisdom that the master has had embedded in our heart. So this is how we try to get try to impart the teachings from the master, and that's why we try to please the master and so on. And also his disciple Naropa also later on try to please his master and try to get all the teachings from his master, and later on his master appointed him as a kind of representative of the master, because after like kind of imparting all the teachings through the transmissions or the realization he transmitted to the Naropa, then he appointed Naropa as the like kind of the representative of him as a the teacher or master for the teaching, the holder of the teachings and so forth. And also he like prophesied in the near future there would be coming like a person like Mapa from Tibet, and so on and so forth all this time. So what it means is that so our teaching has to have the continuity. It has to be this is known as how the profound continuity. This is how we have the teaching which has been continuations from one special master or great master to another master, and goes on from one to another through the years or through the realization.
Tinitinashin pena penche naro pala jejun telo bagi longde nawa nashin chene teninganzu ta gajugi pyoge nage ta gajugi lama tangshu segurwa tangbude dajugi jerwa marpa chugilorwa tini jejun marpe yang tachi ngone lö dang so tene chasangde pachi nangmido tangne tini jang pakbe yurdu len sumsamje perwa ta kap tedugi tinichi 상상하게 봐준 로드 탄소데 다 등산한 신기지야 저컵 괜찮은데 담보 단단한 신 예매 메시되네 이는 양 등지 젠센다 대난신도 꾸마다 자바다 탄소되데 배치 디가서는 마마한테 지레도 어떤데 전에 간들지 강얘기 름바 망보지 게네 자갈라 팀어 숨좀지 페네 되네 다단데다 자ам 파베 요르게 되네 라마 자 지renchese 망분제 나로 뒤 나네야 되네 다 라마 젠다단 차와니데 제준 단단데다 나로바당 어디나 신도 되네 다단데 메티바 어다 되나바 니고데 땡나로 뒤 나네야 되네 쪼고 벤체 나로바레 쪼 벤체 나로바테야다 로쭈루다 되네 다와 된다 tembayin jeju marbe de songdo ta tendejene kale je osuk jamne lama tenzo tenya gi jumsen do de khare de yusna ji di tugju le yebe gi chu ta long gi chu za mai ba to be gi chu de tamche deyang long toba zamdang wang toba zam mayimbar tukju ge toba de rang julam phu toba jing nangne oda kale thikasa ji jamna wa o ti indu zane tane marpe kule jumba nashin chene jechun naro bege tane tutsewa chimbu jesu zong ne tane ting sunbege kabla tane naro bage da jechun marbala da chura tereng zung tane nge jertsabdu wang kurwa yin sene jertsabla ngasul nangda wa 가르스나 고지 방도기 연대 용수 조바디 투주는 표현도 전에 고자서 차는 거로 대지도 전에 된대게 또바 된주기 자살은 나술 대자마제 오다 출한기 야 플로마테네 땀 지단 마르발로 로마 망보레 디 나네야 네 드베 잔센 젠 툼켄기 되네 멜라레바 다 제순 젠고레 세네 되네 벤첸 나로베게 제전 마르발라 롱덴데 나ን도와 롱덴 나와 예종 전에 되네 제전 마르베게야 되네 제전 밀라 제수존에 오다 컨디션에 간들 지 라마라나 소소기 되네 소소기 또바팅 문엔 진투 타추기 로마지 차르 용도 전에 되네 텔라 왕롱티 맹아 용수조바 낭 투줄로 또바 제주 세베지라들 자살로 나서 나인 거여와 어때인도 전에 따테 탐체대 존돌도와 이나 되네 추기 주바데 개침부인바 주바대양 시기 주바 짬마인바 등기 주바 대양 등 고아점지 주바 마인바 등 또베기 주바 뭐다 텐데지 요거야 돼 되네 배 개침으로 진행사를 하버드는 거랑서 가주반다지나 전주바서기도와 대응기들의 주바팅이 송게 측이 주바 많이 송게 지난 거 주로 참아도 대응기 주바 레데 체브르도야 나랑 좋다는 지다 줍주 세나인다 가주바 생규산에 뭐네 주바 냠랭게 토네 되니 또베기 댄선진 tum게 또베기 되니 주바 파르마체 같은데 지 차용구요레 대인도산에 되는 지된 송거게 되는 백개 첨부 지나네 다금 주베기 총경고 데마타도 따와이나엔다 곰바이나엔다 주바이나엔다 야나 롱기 추이나엔다 또베기 추이나엔다 탐체대 주바 넘버 타가지 구레스는 개체모지나고 텐데시는 손난 게 요사래.
So like this is how the continuity of transmission is important, stated there. For example, even the Tilopa, when they give the teachings to the Naropa, and he has prophesied that in the near future, this kind of person will come. So he prophesied when the disciples become so ripened, so perfect of his teaching, then he could transmit or impart all the teachings to the disciples. Also, when we talk with Mapa came to India for 3 times to receive the teachings. And those days, it might not be that restriction as we have now. We are not sure whether they have this kind of restrictions as we do now. But definitely, there is a danger of the wild animal, the ferocious things, and everyone. There's many difficulties there. Somehow, Mapa came 3 times to India to receive the teachings. It's all because of that. And also now he came to India, and he has 2 most important teachers, that is Naropa and Maitripa. Among these 2, the Naropa is one of the most prominent master. And he studied with the Naropa for almost 12 years. And he impart the transmission and also the realization of the teachers, realization of the masters, and he has in all the teachings of its heart, in the fullest of the fullest teachings from the heart. Then he became the perfect of all the teachings, and later on also he has given a kind of prophecy that in the near future you will have this kind of students like Milarepa, and so though Marpa has many students, but Milarepa is one of the most prominent disciples who could able to digest all the teachings the transmissions, and also the empowerments, and also the like kind of instructions or transmissions or the realization of the inner teachings of the, whatever the teachings that had with his masters, he could able to impart all the teachings or able to digest all the teachings within. And that was able to continue, not just by a word or just by a word, but also with the meaning or understanding or the inner realizations of that. So therefore, for example, our Kajupa the teachings or the lineage is known as the like kind of the inner the realization, the continuity of the inner realizations, or so forth. So actually, all the teachings different major teachings in Tibet are known as the inner teachings, but somehow it was more emphasized on the Kajupa teachings as the inner teachings or the inner meaning, or the continuity, the holder of the continuity of the inner teachings or the inner practice, something like that. And therefore, so later on, he was appointed as the one who can uphold this seed, or the like kind of act as a representative of their masters. In the same way, the Lord Jigten Sumgyen also stated that he was also appointed in the same way as the seed holder. And also he stated, this is why from the very beginning, Lord Jigten Sumgyen stated that we have to have a proper continuation, proper lineage, or proper link of the teachings. That is the teaching of the, whether it is a view, meditation, or conduct, whatever it is, we need a proper kind of lineage is required.
다테네 드네마다 돌지송 니바데와 니바데라 콘데 주그란 게 삼낭점 세야 데르다 단디 가르송거에서는 단다 공도 추데 주바 남브라타와 지당 테네 주바 친압데 덴바 텐데지 고레 송거와 다텐데 인도산에 와나 다 가주바라 대응기 주바양유 세기 주바양유 테네 주바 마창마 메바 주바 칠압도 덴바지 스는 송인 거요와 땡류산에 텐데기 주바 칠압도 덴바 대당 주바 마체와 텔라 땡네 중액이 다 추데 가르레 세가 저가지 내용 거요래 땡류산에 드는 제된 송공기 콘데 주그랑 게 삼나점 세안디 송용 말에 땡류산에 제단 가르스나 지다 나란조 드네 나와 산제바 대나네야 라버도 티바 체중 나다 제바니 냠수 랭킹기 드니 표주 남바 차창기 자외기 차네 다외기 nenga 지과 돌을 내기 요래 되나야 따왕 못을 탄게 돈에 드니 가주베양 따왕 못을 탄데 뒤에서 만자와지 용기 요래 대인들 전에 변한 주주 전단다지는 최담제란신 마주거래 숨그래 최담제란신 마주바 임비 좀 센터다 지야 고 우메기 식반다만다 텐데도는 마데나 와야지 용구유로와 근데 가주바게는 최담제란시 마주바 임바데 예게레데 이나야 당부 모트는 용도선에 최담제 당부권을 한시 마주바에서 지치디 돈은 레시만하래 오나 가린 난게르스는 최담제 랑게 셈레세 나와라 셈세 디톤에 되는 모트는 용도와 대인도산에 제단한테는 나와라 셈게 토는 레시난게 당부디 산지 좀 된데래 산지 좀 된데게 되네 랑카르시베긴도 같은 순나라 조 나와라 셈 때나와 병구요래 드네 양지 된데게 나와라 셈 존된 나네 자음 파베 요게 되네 지 주친 망 제와지게 나와라 셈고 도는 거 존나 연구요래 대나신도 제서 잠방 공부게양 되네 다나딘 도디진 세야다 튼순난도 나와라 셈조 때나와 병구요래 근데 벽에 추주나네 당보고는 나와라 셈레 쓰는 거 존나 캔데 저 가주바게 되는 체준도지 차용고요. 대인도 전에 단단되네 되는 아주 주바 친합도 된 바트는 주의자고 최대 가르에서 있는 전에 나와라 셈세야티 인스나 대송바래.
So in the second verses, all phenomena of samsara and nirvana are only appearances of one's own mind. And actually, it is stated that in the first which reverses any sacred Dharma teachings that are connected with the lineage of profound. Of course, on top of that, which is the lineage is important, one should have to know why the Kajupa traditions or the lineage of the Kajupa lineage has talk about the importance of the meaning and the word itself, and also particularly pay too much focus on the meaning. So reason why the Kajupa focus on this is that actually all other four traditions, major tradition, talks about the same thing, for about the viewpoint, view of the all the views are emptiness and so on and so forth. But whereas here, what the Kajipa master talk about is actually all the nirvana and samsara are actually our own mind. It's dependent on our own mind. But somehow we don't talk to from the very beginning, rather than talking of the emptiness. The Kajipa master straight go to introduce the mind. So mind is the kind of essence of all the kind of nirvana and samsara. So Kajipa master go on talking about the mind, which is the basis of all nirvana and samsara. And it's not actually the Kajipa master they're talking from the very beginning. Actually, it was taught by the Buddha himself. And Buddha has taught this one in the Lanka Avatara Sutra, so that the mind is the source of all the nirvana and samsara. And also the Maitreya talks about this in the Sutra Alankara. So about how the mind is important, and how on the basis of the mind all these nirvana and samsara comes into existence. Therefore, it is stated that all phenomena of samsara and even the only appearance of one's own mind. That's all.
tan nawa rasim son du zane tene zo kar sung ge sana ngaran zo ge tande ge ta ji nawa zange kanjin da jin nang ge yuna ya ta kwa zange kanjin ji go ge yuna ya de nan shin du nyongwa de du kanjin ji nyong ge yuna ya de tamche de tene ta ji sem ge chunang yang ne yang du kom song we 박차라 때네 근데 치료네 율 장엔라 소바 자 니메년라 소바 어떻게 차리겠어 대마도 나랑 쪽에 나완디 그 치료를 이렇게 돌아 장신이 줍대변 나왔던데 지요 말이 팀도 전에 나와라서 제가 되지게 도는데 신앙용도가 어떻게 팀비 좀 생각도 그냥 안 좋겠나 다 배치 망치와 지기 라랭 소드마 제뇽 유지레 망부 대양 등마 찍자마이 망분 제뇽 유지레 라랭 소드면은 되지 소요와 동난 나서 문남 부셨다르스 존나 덴버 중에 아탕체 송도와 대인도 장다도 동해가 조치는 송리 인주 창마 지발에 내도 장에 토미 간지다 지는 양 되는 거랑 속이 생기 물음기 값이 다 비매지라 부지 제와만 땅 배가 초라지고차 되니 양 물음 이바 땅이 전에 부대 10회만 땅 동해뇽 되니 심제차 다 된대기 대도 니보테 물음기 값 대가랑라 니기 되니 지금 심대 뚝송도 전에 되니 다 된대기 거지 나와지 샤송하러 옛날에 동의게 돈에 부제야 요 말이라 부시야 요 말와 어딘도 단단한 속에 나와상이 용 수조바데 된대기 준한 거 동들은 나 대바든지 지레스는 송비요래.
So here when we talk about the appearances of one's own mind, like whatever the appearances of a mind, for example, whether it's good or bad, pleasure, the feelings of pleasure and suffering, pain, whatever. These are all actually the imprints of our mind. Because of the imprint, and we could have different kind of appearances coming to us. Then because of that, we are in suffering. For example, actually, there's nothing independently existing from our own mind. These are all actually the manifestations of our own mind. So therefore, for example, if you look about the 37 practices of Bodhisattva practices, it is stated that different kind of the suffering comes about. And it's like a kind of the dream, your son, passing away of your son, the death of your son in the dream. What happens in the dream, in one way, when you see in your dream, you like if you see you giving a birth to the boy, you are so happy. But at the same time, in the second instance, when you see that your son has been passed away, then it's very difficult to bear that. But whereas if you look into this, into this situation, for example, it's just a dream, and nothing has happened there. Actually, it's not born there, and it's not died. It's just a dream, or just the. But somehow we have a feeling that same exactly as we have been born the son, and at the same time the son is dead, and so forth. So in the same way, this is how the appearances of our mind, and it is what it means is that there is no other than the appearances of the mind. So it is just the imprint or the manifestations of our mind. That's all.
That's one. Yeah. That thing is on a penna around some digital, some of you down to Zane. Then Nyima Kong Tawchila, telling on the lega, when I sing to be a legend or chicken or Sanotana, Ningang sing to be a regret them. Energy sing de Bugaya Wundu, de Bugaya woman, de Rentan Chimbundu, de Rentan Chunchung say, and there is some Mambu Chitane, sing to Nimachila, Ninkang, Royana Chusunga, Rojila Comsoina. Then it tendegi combe Jumsena, then it take Gondagin Sangi Malamganala, that peche jacha, or Jan Rojila, Shingicola Malamji, and Sing Leondoa, Tindu, then it is Sing Yabu Tobeg Malam. Yana Sing Yabu Tomna, Yanti short song again Malam. Yana Sing de Peji, Rintang Yabu Tobeg Malam, that and this in a country Shingicola in Malam Damamabuchi Tang Grua. Penna. Tati Jumsen de Casano, Nyima Kong Chusu Kashila, Titola Comrigi Charson du Zane, didn't sing a Malamna Tang Guru, or Dinashi in Duzane, Petinashi in Chene, Naranzo get Tandegi Teneji, Nawa Zangi, Nawa Dedu, Dramandan, Naya Dilla, Nazutene, Comshi de Cassi Teburusana, Corva Toma Meban Comshi Tebsonova, Corva Toma Mebane, Sem Quinjin Namshi Tengdu. Then you Pacha sang in Draman Mampu, Jason to Zane, T. Pacha de Mingi, then a children Jurgen now and Draman Mamuji sharing Guru, or T in Duzane, then Tendeg on Sanotama in a young, or the Korwatan Yandegi Chutamche de, or the Tadan de da Sambeg Ransus and now ransom say all that and in Chayung Gure, Sungu Sare.
And also, for example, in the daytime, during the daytime, the day work, for example, if we are cutting the tree or the wood or whatever, like the wood is good or bad, and whether this wood is valuable or not valuable, and so forth, for almost like 5 hours, if we have been thinking about it and doing the works about it, then because of that, in the dreams, it comes like the wood. You can see the dream of cutting the wood and so forth, and also the value of the wood and how much it costs and whether it is valuable or not. The reason why is because in the daytime we have been thinking about these cutting the trees, and we are thinking about the value of the tree or the wood for some hours because of that. And in the same way, like for example, on the base mind. Because on the old base mind, we have an imprint. We have been putting this imprint for a beginningless time, for a long time. Because of that, we're having a different kind of impression on the mind. So, like for example, whether it is a samsara or whether it's a nirvana, whatever the appearances it may cause, these are all because of our mind. Because it's the appearances or the manifestations of our mind, because of putting all the kind of imprints in our mind stream, or the like all base mind. We used to say the Khenchen Namshe, which means all base mind, or the continuity of the mind. So because of that, we have a different kind of manifestation of our mind. So these are all because of the mind, and it's known as the form of mind, the manifestation of mind. Lasoda.
Tenanshin penangan sugetne tam metsegi jurim segona da yana Nyima regetne 지금 소베 나라 내주르다 뇨다 망보지 주르줘야 돼야 나주 섬던저에 돈이 뇨라도 조용도와 파드네 뇨다단 강에디 세야양 섬던저에 돈이 강에 세야기 망보용도와 다 지단기 고지 양 치로긴 중화라 소베 젠첸에 난기 르라 소발라 강에데 지 용거레데 이나야 텔레 마임베기 내수르 망보지 나주 섬게 타주 투베 같은데 지 용거 요르와 티지르산에 벤나 간사 퍼르보 현다지기 근데 나라 선다 난다고 지라 삼루 지로바 지기 토네 근데 지 쩐저고 지 망부 지 땅용와 이나 빼나다데 이 땅도 쓰여 말 때 쩐저고 지 땅용와 이나 이쩐 땅기 요와데 네테네 나웨 고네 근데 섬게 돌아 디 된다들 레빈도 전에 근데 이신이 나 섬든 투용고 요리 섬의 지원과 차용으로와 계시변은 된대기 쩐도 지 땅용와 이나 네바지 제용와 이나 띵에 자와는 하마고와 이나 나르티 동해게 들어와도 용금도 띵도 따때 가르스나 된대기 값이 동해당 강에 망보때 먼저 섬게 조되게 요지다 섬게 나와 임바지 디다 띵토도 디나신도 계시변은 조금 전부 용케 추여 탐제 되는지 나와 ran스미바 하고 된게 된대기 nen줄바 찍라 쩐 가세지 땅자바 있나야 디나신도 따지 칭이 가세지 마자바 있나야 고랑기 지 나웨 고 섬나 샤와 있나야 람상변은 출을 못해봐 나신체네 바 yartu를 송용도 띵도 전에 대기 콩나 강에 때 두면도 나랑선도 지나 그 책도 고와 잠지 근데 섬나 샤와 잠지고는 강해진 태용도 띵도 전에 된대게 강에 용도 모용데 근데 지 섬게 출 땅진 지단지가 라래 연구요로 오다 텐솔라 때네 근데 단데 나와랑 섬세요 오다 텐데 통하는 대신한 게 유사래.
So in the same way, like if we think about our life, in our day-to-day life, so there are different kind of situation there. Sometimes very problematic situation which is related to the mind, and also because of the mind, we could also solve that problem through the through the mind, relating to we can able to solve it through the mind. For example, like if I think about somebody else, about their mistakes or their faults, and if I hear about somebody talking about me, or saying something bad or whatever, so when I hear that, instantly I'm in trouble, and my mind gets disturbed. So if I don't know this kind of situation, and if I didn't hear that, there's no problem in the mind. It's because of the mind. So therefore, for example, if you look at the yogis who are able to understand, who have realized the nature of all phenomena as a mind. So it doesn't matter how backbite we did to these people, or whatever the bad things we have talked about him or whatever. So it doesn't matter for him, because he knows that this person can take it as a kind of it's the nature of mind. It's just the manifestation of mind. And just like drawing a picture in the water, in an instant, it can vanish. So there's no problem for this kind of person. So therefore, this is taken as it's all because of the mind manifestation. It's not actually the existing from its own side. It's because of our mind creation or the mind imprints or the mind impressions. That's all.
나와 라슴 sombarwa 땡유다 나와 라슴 임바드네 셰 도바이나 나와 라슴 그 돌아드네 삼로지 땅투 소남 나와 라슴 임베 니시지 제송아이나 네 펜 다지나 삼지메 차바제 surun dor duba ina tani penyon number 2 jamji yosong yongdawa ta namjun gongchig tani derchen ka gnandu tani nawa rasim kowe tani penyon 2 jamji yongyo ten tani penyon tambo tela tani dende songre nawa zange kangjeji sharwa ina yang de tamche de range sim truwe wange shagi yobegi yichi jidang sharu yobegi nishiji yosongwa ina tani tela tene ji 뇌지기 저울라 시당제야당 펜지기 조라 뇌차기 로제야 너나 차당기 로 라과 슈타고 텐조 마티스는 슈충충 되는 조용그레스 차당드니 당보 슈충의 차 되는 타마 되는 차당기 로다 탐제대 파드니 짬이든 로투레 송외 텐도 전에 나와라 섬조 시송도 전에 섬되더니 배 dur부지 차안로 서래 나와라 섬임바 시용도 전에 섬대 나네지 뇨다당 강에기 리망 저와지 라루요 파칼레칼레 신잠차루요 섬기 등라더니 뇨다기리 신잠차인도 전에 더니 차베기 로당 당웨기 로던조 바옌도 투르와 어텐데 인도 전에 나와라 스미바 시나 자당기 로 림지 토르베 평지 토구요레 어텐데지.
So whatever it is, if one is able to realize that all the appearances are actually the appearances of a mind, it's the manifestations of mind, then it is stated that one would have a great like kind of peace within oneself, and there is a like kind of quality, the benefits and quality, the 6 different kind of qualities benefit. And like for example, if one is able to understand this is all because of a mind manifestation or the appearances of a mind. And if one have a conviction or one have a confidence for that, then it is said that whatever the people say to them, or whether it is, when the people harm you, doesn't matter. Even if it's your enemy or whatever, they would not come a kind of hatred to this kind of person. And even if there's like person who you love or who you like it, then they won't be having such condition or like kind of chance to arise the attachment for this kind of persons. So because the reason why is that because we have understood the nature of mind, and this all because of the like manifestations of a mind or the appearances of a mind, then there's nothing we can attach to, or there's nothing we can hatred for that because of understanding that.
Yeah, the need to then the pen niba de la carson gre saying the sane nawa ransom so the to to so ina tella tene ditene nuba chinking dore sambe dola demren zembe lo di pemba chinking tore some tola demren zembe lo tendegi denzing lo de pa shivrche to gres tendegi denzing lo de sheyung do sane tene pento de la caryon gre sana ta 나랑 좀 코르벤난 게 심체 탐체대 되네 자당 니부텔라 차당게 로라과지 제는 레간다면다 사 텔라 때네 동해 넘버 하나 줘봐지 윤기여바데 시행도 전에 되네 된대게 심체 된소라 맥네 잠바다 hin제 된소야 고 랑신기 제야라 되네 펜도 슈치와 연구래 숨바팅도 나와랑 스님바 시에송와이나 자당 긴짐바톨 다른 닝긴 짐바토르에 돈에 덴데 마드르베게 심첸라 맥네더니 닝제제야 잠바제야 오 덴데기 로드랑싱기 용그레스 띵드잔네 덴 평연 이바데 덴데지 요송바레.
So now the second benefit of understanding that all appearances are just the nature of our mind appearances. That, for example, we have a like kind of one enemy, or also we have a like kind of one's own favorite, like favor, that is one's own relative, and so forth. So when one is understood that these are all appearances, or it's the manifestation of our mind, then what happened is we would be able to stop the strong sense of grasping to one's own relative and strong sense of hatred towards the enemy. And from that onwards, because since one is able to strike, able to reduce or able to eliminate this kind of strong sense or kind of the gross level of hatred and gross level of attachment to one's own relatives, then you can take into account all other sentient beings are also in the same nature. So like then we have within ourselves, they aroused a strong sense of loving kindness and compassion towards all sentient beings because of understanding the nature that these are all the manifestations of mind.
Tene Gyaltsen sumba de la karisong ngre saying the pen sumba de ta nawa ransim yimba tene yang tabaji khundu chu to tup soma yina. Tene tela tene manzo tene sanga dorje tibegi ta gomya nyamlen na ya de krasne khasan khundu jerem da zorim sana songwa te indi zane jerem da zorim gombegi gomtan tan so ya tene yang tabaji shi ngre somba ta di Gyaltsen karchene shi ngre saying the zane penna 나랑 저기 성민낭라 드네 다지 신뢰긴 직den게 감대양 드네 배 뎀바지 마다베 ranjin 둥해게 ranjin 드네지 임바 삼노 덴진지 유나 대나신도 낭가랑게 르라서 반도양 지 둥해게 풍보 샤타게 ranjin 임바지 뎀버진 송아이나 다 덴데게 뎀바테 뇌긴 직된 자리에 강임바 고냐 깔레카고 찬도로 nangi luyende yang lage ranshi yinba gonya kale kawa chandura kasana mada pala denzen shubche lanu. Tanda nawa ransim yinba tani yang tawaji shiyan songa yina mada pala demran zewe denzen lotu doon rogo yore. Ti indi zane tani chen nugin jikdengi kamte yang yariye kange ranshi yinba la nishi lamsan je le lawa. Nang juge simchen tamche yang lada lamu ranshi yinba la nishi du nyurdu jewaran jirwa. O tindi ji indi zane nawa ransim yinba shiyan songa yina 계조 금be 냠낸 텐소였더니 지 레사오 지게 돈에 온로 투레스나 대송바래.
And the third one is that like if you know about the all phenomena are just the manifestations of our mind, then when we are doing on the path of the like Vajrayana practice, and especially in terms of the generation and like the completion stage, it has great benefit for that. The reason why is that usually when we talk about the outer object, for example, the container and the contained within us. So usually we talk about the container is like a kind of the Buddha field, and the container like person inside who is contained, who the subjective point of mind and subjective, the people who are the sentient beings who are in the contained, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Because what we do is when we have come to know that all things and events are just the manifestations of our mind, then what happened is that we could able to realize that outer object is also the manifestations and inner object is also the inner subjective mind or subjective sentient beings, also the manifestations of mind. Then it's all just the manifestations of mind. Then it becomes more easier to practice the purity of the container and the contained within oneself. So therefore, it becomes more easy to practice the generation stage and also the completion stage. So that's why, because it is also the beneficial for the people who practice. This is the third kind of benefits. If we were able to understand all things are the events, all things are the events of the mind. That's right.
와야 되네 나와라 섬수 또비기 pen 찌라양 가르송바스나 되네 나와라 섬임베기 타 최네 나와란 게 심리 임바지 또 투송아이나 라멘 내줄게 냠nen테야 레타고지 차투 그래 숨바래 때 가르치는 레슨도 전에 다 지된 송운데 송도와 라마다랑스 산제숨 송도와 되네 라마당 랑게 셈당 산제숨부디 지도 또 송아이나 되네 어다 라멘 내줄 지기 요새네 지배 갈레시 잡고야 지요 말레스 된도 라멘 내줄 라마다랑스 산제숨 지도 또 송아이나 다 대가랑 라멘 내줄 곰베기 tum제 탈투버도 데려와 텐데 연구 자는 나와랑 섬수 돈으로 자네 라마랑 섬수 고용구요래 라마랑 섬수 또 연구 자네 그니 라멘 내줄 건배기 된거 타르도 받더니 최송하러 대치 연구 자네더니 라멘 내줄 그냥 나야 되는 채도 치바지 차도 그래 말에
So in the other way, like when I talk about the purity of our mind and the impressions or the appearances of our mind, and also if we were able to understand all things and events are just the appearances of our mind, and if we have a conviction or the realizations of that, then it is stated that, like even the Lord Jigten stated that the master, the Guru, and one's own mind, and the Buddha are same in one. And if we were able to understand these three things, Guru, one's own mind, and Buddha in three in one. So together, if we are able to understand, then this is the ultimate state. This is the ultimate state of the practice of the Guru Yoga. So, and also it is the ultimate state of the practice of practicing, and it's the perfect ultimate state of the practicing of the Guru Yoga.
되네 다 팽 응아바들 가르송 거였으나 땅도 또 고야 돼 자제 친구 또 봐줄 제구로 때에서는 나와랑 심송 내송아이나 근데 자제 친구 내룩양 내라도 또 그래 송바다 대 가르치는 또 그랬는데 전에 난소 되네 내룩 탈도 와대 또 버려 제발라 딥랭케데 가르치는 전에 니난근 출바든 소리 되네 다든 짐바 이젠든 짐바 다게 토라 차 이행게 토라 당 같은 대신에 거기 코로와다 냥데 세안로 야나 다당 옌 세안로 같은 대신에 되네 배 당진기 로되게 되는 아주 통대요와 다든 좀 로세야 되지다 초진의 상관은 그 자침부리도와 당진 유외 가진나 되네 근데 소소 야젠 로레세야 계제지 요로와 계세 당진면은 야젠 로 말에 서야지 요로와 오늘 제나 야젠 뭐만 로야도 당진 메나 야젠 로 슈체서와 가인스나 당진 메송아이나 델라드네 느바탄켄 연구마와 느통켄 연구마와 어때인도 자네 다 문에게지 대원 타르투바세나ян다 기본 타르투바세야 된도데 당진 토베긴 라지라 드네 자자침부 또바줄에 제세나ян다 심게드네 시데 토세나ян다 어때인도드네 산지게 컴파운드 토세나ян다 드네지 연구로 어때인도 자네 드네 나와랑섬승에 연구 자네 드네 종야게 다당 다게 초 파드네 빵야게 옌다 옌게 초 텐데 매바지 또 연구 자네 드네 섬게 내로 뭐마디 토라 레비아드 드네 레하용 그래 숨바래 베나드네 춘로 지기나 델라드네 롱게 요와 가세 슈총으로 차송아 이나야 대잠지 최대나라 종행의 그 세르세르 하는 거와 대나신도 남도게 되네 요와 당신 인증기 로기 요와데 가세 파트네 시와 차송아 이나야 대잠지 되네 섬게 내루기 땡기 다 자제 침부기 샬스나인다 자제 침부 모세나인다 델라드네지 통수로 타니르니르 차노르 지당 코란다 타니 장스게 요마와 당부권의 승거라지 자제 침부에 이나가 좀 통수로 비권에 자제 침보다 좀 통수니보다 다른 거지로와 따단다 남도기 로이 요와테 파지 다네 나와랑 스민바지 내윤도 자네 근데 랑라 예배기 예시세고나ян다 랑라 예배기 자제 침보세고나ян다 어때는 대응원도 주네 그래야 도진장의 공방문도 전도에 송발 대시도 전에 나와랑 섬신나 자제 침보 또 봐주려는 제레 라와트네 지인들이서래.
So like now the fifth one, when you talk about the like kind of understanding all the nature and phenomena are just the manifestations of our mind, then it is stated that it is also the beneficial to understand the ultimate nature of reality, able to understand the ultimate nature of reality. So why? Because usually what happens is when we attach to oneself and when we have hatred to others because of the grasping to the self, because of these we have a trouble and we are in problem because we attach to oneself and we try to detach or we try to hatred to others and other beings. So because of these things, we are in trouble and we get so and we then because of these we couldn't able to understand the nature or the understanding of the Mahamudra. So because of these will actually obscure the nature and reality of the Mahamudra. So what happened is like sometimes it seems like it's like if we don't have the self-grasping, then it's very easy that one could be able to have the understanding of the Mahamudra. So for example, if we attach to oneself and if we like kind of the hatred to others, then what happens is it can obscure, it becomes the obscurations for understanding the very nature of the reality that is the ultimate nature of reality, the Mahamudra. So for example, if we don't have this kind of if we were able to understand because of the nature of the mind, if we take it, these are all the nature of mind, and there's nothing such kind of the hatred and anger or the attachment to one's own things, then what happens is slowly we are beginning to understand the nature of our mind. And if we were able to understand the nature of our mind, then we would be able to understanding the Mahamudra. That is the Mahamudra which is within oneself. The Mahamudra in the sense, one's own mind, which is the wisdom aspect. And also, so because of these are all the nature of the mind or the appearances of an one would able to bring together, assemble together. So because it's all the appearances of the mind, that's why we could be able to do that. Otherwise, if it is independently existing outside, then we couldn't able to assemble all these things together, and we couldn't do that together. So because of that, we could be able to bring all together in one side, and we could be able to offer, or we could be able to make dedications. So therefore here, all these like kind of dedications, except that is one of the Mahamudra, the rest of other can include it in the three different, included in the fivefold path of Mahamudra. That is, for example, it will be beneficial for the practice of the bodhicitta, and also it's beneficial for the practice of the Guru Yoga, and also it's beneficial to practice for the Mahamudra, and also it's beneficial to practice the like dedication and so forth. So, and if it is not able to do that, then like, for example, if you couldn't able to understand all these manifestations are the appearances of our mind, then what happens is we would have a strong sense of grasping to these and that. And what happens is this will create instability in our mind. And therefore we couldn't be able to practice that because of the unstable of our mind. So therefore, it is very important to understand all phenomena which are just the appearances of our mind. That's all.
Diwa tene dorsung sumbatlan de songdo junje ki sambe rangzu yins. Tan di inju tanda de tanji nawa ransim se da tanda jigba pawyung yore. Iki tane tanji nawa ransim songdu yang kowa jig samno jigdang du tane tanda ngarang zogi jewan din na zange kante jing nawa ina yang de jewa nguma la so bala kono songwe ge tene jigda ransu tandanganzu shabdi yore saya ko tuzu parta ringbo jila sanodane xie yongwa tante ji yongwa ta tanda junre ke ji sambe ransu yin sondu tane tela yang zu ta nyewa Chewang Hamala Sobal Tugu Mare, Tandang around so good Jula Dedu get Sorwa, La Soba, Kandichi in a young, Tanda Tandegi Samotayan Rally race, Tindu, Tanda Churans Neji, Sem Gewa, Samba Zambo, Samba Kuyambo, Sambape Busutobo Maimba, Tendeji Yosumayina, Tanda Churana Chibode, Temata Yong to grace. Tanda dene seminala namdo andamanda mambo samno busu tobo ta teneji chedeba yina di rangsu gi dunghede tandarang mingres tichi du zane nawa rangsim de tuzu ringboji la tugu yo mare tanda kan nawa de tanda ge sambe ge rangsu de ji res no te sombare tichi du zane di dorsung niban de jedan tangbo de niban nibo tela tangbo de gaju chigi chure gaju chichure 치마 다단디 삼배 장수 세안디 화벌도 투몽마인바 저번 지된 송공의 체주인 송발에 디지도 전에 단단가랑서 단단디와 쟁하 작번 존에 다 저번 지된 송공의 로마 쟁하 제그나네 조 이유도 전에 지대 실험 존에 지대 작번 존에로와 쟁하 작번 존에게 되는 신디나 야베긴 중 소주 제모세야지 요래 당연히 로카시 문에 달로 징닝 문에 저면은 그 이주 슈차와와 비치단다 인지당 저면 이가 돌아 빠르게 차유서 이디나 가르송 요르스나 네 나와라 셈세안디 주베기 파케레스 주바세인디 텔로 나로 마르바 멜라 감보바 파모초바 라마 주베기 되네 다지 주게지레스 나와라 셈세야데 삼베 랑조 세야데 지긴 공부그 투몽마인베 주게레 전에 소용도 띵도 전에 당부 나와라 셈세야데 주 세르 당제와 텔라 되니 삼베 랑조 전에 소용도 요래 된 디게 빼델라 단다 초추나 가르송 요래서나 뺀나 아 등상은디 캅도만 보제기로 캅도를 빼잖아 야사래 이 또히운 나상 한거 캅도다 창매기 배식 봉보가 랩사로와 근데 인도 전에 캅데 봉베 돌아 야왔다고 때 가르스나 다 주요 말한다 야왔다고 때 나와라 셈세야 되레스 근데 나와라 셈데 수 슉체를 나와데 빼나 캅데 봉베가 나샤네 드니파 라바기 슉체니파 봉베 나라 비자타만 하신데 된단단디 삼배장수 세야 돼 손도와 티인도 전에 당보대 줄 세르 당제와들 나와 삼배장수 선을 손바데
So like the third verse is causes, results, or manifestation of momentary thoughts. So what it talks about is when you talk about all the appearances are just the manifestations of our mind. What it means is like now here, usually what happens is when we are talking about the whatever the good and bad it comes in our life, it is because of our past causes and conditions. But here what it talks about is you don't have to go to the past and present, but right here, right now, you would feel that. Like, for example, if you do something good right now, so right here, right now, you'll feel the good, or you feel the bad if you're doing something bad. So it means you don't have to go that far to the past. So right here, right now, you will feel. So therefore, it's all because of the like kind of the manifestations of your mind. Here, then it states that in the first verses, talks about all these teachings are because of all the forefathers of the Kajipa. For example, when I talk about all the Dharma teachings that are connected with the lineage of profound, and also the first one, all phenomena are causes, like what it means is it's general understanding that all the Kajipa masters bring together for Tilopa, Naropa, Marpa, Mila, and it comes out. But when we talk about phenomena, the appearances of our own minds, this is actually particularly the teachings or talks of the Jiten Sunki. So, like, for example, when we talk about it, the Chenla Drakpa June, the direct disciples of the Lord Jiten Sumgyen has stated, Jiten Sumgyen he also stated in one of his teachings, which we have been translated in German and English a few years ago. So it also talked about whatever the like appearances that we have, it is actually because of our minds. So forth. So like then it is stated that this is actually particularly like emphasized by the Lord Jigten Sungin, that appearances of one's own minds. For example, if we right these days we are having the COVID like kind of injections, like the pandemic, because in order to protect the pandemic, we need to have the COVID injections. Like for example, if you're about to inject the people, then it is known as the about to inject. This is kind of like of the appearances of a mind. Like try to do that. That is just connecting there. But at the same time, when you, in the second moment when you inject it, like for actually you are injecting the people, then it is known as the sempiransu, which means it is the form of the mind. So first it is stated that it is the kind of the appearances of a mind. Now here it is the form of mind. So this is actually the specially stated by the Lord Jigten Sungin. So this in the sense like one is little bit in the form and other one is in the real actions that you're injecting the people.
Las tani ta pechi ngan tring dana shan ya sare jidang tani sambe rangzu gula tandu keja kashi ji yur tin du zane tani ngan sani nani ga tani shu chundu o tani tring ngan sam dana jaya
캐리부치가 디 나와랑섬 더 선비랑수니 캬부장도들라 그나 갑주에다 그 나와랑수다 선비랑수로라 맞습니다. So
now ransom de kapungbe thola jabandaw tedu shukjam na tuyo marwa bongbala tu bandaw sambe ransu de tini kap de supo na la pha tubataw ta thenda de now ransom de chur sar zo jabatela sambe ransu segre sungir.
So now the clarity is that the two differences that like one is the appearances of our mind and one is the form of mind. So these two, and the form of mind is actually the clarifying, actually being into more like kind of vividness of the appearances of our mind. So for example, like the first one, appearances of a mind is just like you're about to inject a person. It has just touched that person, but it hasn't injected it. But once you're injecting that person, this is known as the form of the mind. So the form of mind is actually the special dharma, presented by the Lord Jigten Sungin. Jigten Sungin timo mai kyujira wala. So this is actually the presented by the specially presented by the Lord Jigten Sungin. That is the form of the mind. So today we stop here.
Sonamde tamje zibani tomne nibe danam pamje de jega nanje balon troba seben solen rovan rover sho lama gunkam zamwara survande jodo guse rangwara survande Tille darjen jebra survande lama dan darwa mebra jenje lo jambe bawe jedran jamba Gundo zambo deyan tejinde teda gunje jeso dalos gewan deda damje ramdo ngo sanje gusum nibe chenlav dan chunye menjuru dembe chenlav gende meche ndebe chenlav je chedra nguje molam drubar sho dadang gonde tham je dezum do Yube give the one day, Dada Simchen Tamje, Lanam, Yang Dabra Zobe Chanchu Rinpoche Dabra Jurunji Shija Gunze Gunchin Chuji Je Tender Nela Wakum Degong
Rinjin Belgi
Temper Temper Shidu Tusam Gambe Zinjuru Chanju Simcho Rinpoche Majiba Nam Jejuru Jezba Nyamba Mebra Yang Kone Gong Ever show.
Chenla and Kempola, thank you all, the wonderful translators today that helped to translate his wonderful teaching into many different languages, and Susu in Vietnamese, Alex in Spanish, Catherine in Germany, and Rocco and Lama Kojo into Chinese. Thank you, and we'll see you again in 2 days.